All right, let's tackle one of the biggest, most unpredictable expenses for any business, employee health benefits. For a long time, the choice was pretty straightforward. You got a traditional group plan, but there's a different model now called ICHRA, and it really changes the entire equation. Today, we're putting them head-to-head and digging into a hidden cost that most businesses just completely forget to calculate.
So if you're a business owner and you're looking at health plans for your team, what's the very first number your eyes jump to? Just think about it for a second.
Yeah, if you said the monthly premium, you are definitely not alone. That's what almost everyone does. And it makes sense, right? You compare the sticker price, you pick the one that seems more affordable. Simple.
But that is precisely the mistake. Focusing only on that premium is like looking at an iceberg and only paying attention to the little bit of ice sticking out of the water. The real danger, the real cost, is lurking right below the surface, and that's what we're going to dive into.
To really understand why this is such a critical error, we actually have to take a step back. We're going to look at a totally different industry that ran into this exact same problem decades ago, the airlines.
You see, in the early days, airlines had a really simple model. They took all their costs, fuel, maintenance, salaries, you name it, and they just bundled them all up into an average price for a ticket. And you know what? For a while, when the world was pretty predictable, it worked just fine.
And then the 1970s hit. Boom, the oil crisis. Suddenly, their single biggest cost, jet fuel, was completely unpredictable. Their whole pricing model, which was built on stable, steady averages, was just shattered almost overnight. Their budgets were pure chaos.
Now here's the really crucial lesson from all that turmoil. The airlines that survived were not the ones with the cheapest tickets. Not at all. They were the ones who fundamentally re-engineered their entire cost structure. They stopped accepting chaos as just a cost of doing business. Instead, they started hedging fuel prices. They unbundled services. They broke down that one massive unpredictable expense into smaller, manageable, and, this is the key word, controllable variables. They took back control.
And this just nails the core lesson, doesn't it? It was never about being cheaper, it was about being predictable. Because when you can predict your costs, you can build a sustainable business. When you can't, you're just one market shock away from total disaster.
Okay, so let's land this plane and bring that lesson right back to your company's health benefits. Because that exact same shift from a stable world to a volatile one that hit the airlines, it's happening to employers right now.
With the traditional group plan, you see the obvious costs, right? The premiums, the employee contributions, but it's the invisible costs that really sink you. It's the anxiety of getting that email with the surprise 20% renewal increase. It's the endless hours your team wastes on administration. And it's the growth penalty. What happens to your budget when you hire 10 new people? Chaos.
This chart really tells the whole story. See that flat line at the bottom? That represents a newer model, ICHRA, a predictable, fixed cost. Now look at those blue bars on the right. That's your traditional group plan. See the volatility? It's a staircase of anxiety, and you never, ever know how high that next step is going to be.
So, the bottom line is this. With a traditional group plan, you are fundamentally in a reactive position. You don't control healthcare inflation. You don't control market trends. You don't control your team's medical claims. You just wait for the bill and hope for the best.
So how do you get out of this reactive loop? How do you take control, just like those airlines did? Well, you need a new framework. A framework that's actually built for budget control. This is where ICHRA comes into play. It stands for Individual Coverage Health Reimbursement Arrangement. Now, the concept is really simple. Instead of the company buying a one-size-fits-all group plan, the employer provides a fixed, tax-free allowance. Then, employees can go out and choose the individual plan on the market that works best for them.
And here's how this framework hands you back the controls. First, you turn a volatile liability into a fixed, predictable line item in your budget. Second, your employees actually get to choose plans they need, which ends a ton of inefficient spending. Third, you can scale your team without totally blowing up your budget. And fourth, you shift the financial risk of healthcare claims to the insurance market, where it belongs, while still taking full responsibility for supporting your team.
Now, I want to be really clear about something. This model, ICHRA, it's not magic. It does not suddenly stop healthcare costs from rising out in the world. That's not what this is about.
Here's the point. It removes that inflation from your company's balance sheet. The risk, the volatility of the entire health insurance market, it no longer lives inside your company's budget. And that distinction,
It changes absolutely everything about how you plan, how you grow, and how you operate your business.
Okay, so you get the problem of volatility, and you see there's a framework for control. The question now is, what do you do about it? What is your next strategic move?
Here's your action plan. First, run the real calculation. Add up all those invisible costs we talked about. Second, stress test your current budget. What happens if your team grows by 20%? Does your budget hold up? Third, start evaluating new plans based on predictability, not just this year's price tag. And finally, shift your mindset. Stop thinking year to year and start building a 3-year strategic plan.
This really just sums it all up. The game has changed. The true risk isn't a 10% premium hike next year. The real financial risk is having a benefits foundation that's so brittle it will just crumble the moment you try to grow, or the market shifts, or another shock hits.
So, I'll leave you with this question to think about for your own business. Take a hard, honest look at how you're managing health benefits. Is your strategy a pillar of stability that lets you grow with confidence? Or is it more like a house of cards, just waiting for the next gust of wind?